On March 23rd, industry experts came together in Frankfurt across performance and health, tactics and coaching and scouting. We sat down with the people driving the game forward.
My name is Eamonn Flanagan, and I am the lead strength and conditioning consultant at the Sport Ireland Institute, where I look after the S&C support to Ireland's Olympic and Paralympic athletes. Previously to that, where I've been for about 10 years, I would have worked in professional rugby for about a decade before that. Yeah, so for me, I think we're entering a period in elite level sport where, while technology can be massively helpful and enlightening for practitioners, it also can become somewhat overwhelming. And practitioners can be, I would say, overwhelmed or snowed under by the amount of data that we now develop in our daily training environments. So for me, I think that the competitive advantage really in the coming years is about how succinctly and how seamlessly high-level organizations integrate that data into their daily working environment, and how they use that data to help them make intuitive decisions in practice, as opposed to that data or those technologies distracting them from the intuitive and experiential type of work and practice that they should be delivering. So I think for me, the best organizations are those which will use technology as a way to support what they are doing, particularly from a multidisciplinary support team perspective, as opposed to those organizations which over leverage the technology that's available to them because that's what they think high performance is. But fundamentally, high performance is, I think, as a multidisciplinary team, is working together, communicating really authentically, collaborating really in an interdisciplinary way, and technology being a small part of that. Yeah, so I think top practitioners, are able to probably synthesize those two things together relatively seamlessly. So again, they will trust their professional intuition, but they will challenge it or validate it with, a more objective data capture in their day-to-day kind of training environment. So that for me is the sweet spot that all practitioners are trying to get to. I think to get there, the ideal is that you have some strong principles that guide your work. I wouldn't say they're non-negotiable, because they can always be open to challenge and they can always be open to reassessment, but you have strong principles that guide your work. I think you have strong understanding maybe of the athlete that's in front of you, their training history, their injury histories, their life outside of the sport. And I think when you have those principles, you understand the context that the athlete is working in. That's where I think then technology and more objective data can help guide your path a little bit, as opposed to it completely determining where you go with your multidisciplinary or your within discipline support. The answer to that question is the training itself. I think anytime we train, anytime we construct a training session, there's always a trade-off between how much we do and how much potential training adaptation we're seeking, versus how much risk we want to take, how much risk we want to mitigate. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have very low risk training activities, but which may not actually deliver any meaningful training adaptation to the athletes who are in front of us. So for me, the answer to that question is always trying to strike the right balance between training enough to stimulate real and meaningful training adaptations, not training so much that we put the athlete at risk. And again, that will completely depend on the sport that we're working in, maybe the timelines to the next competition event. And like I said before, it'll also depend a lot on the individual athlete that's in front of you, their training history, their capacity to accept workload, their injury history very much comes into that decision-making process. So the training itself for me, if you're training hard enough, should always carry a degree of risk. That risk we can mitigate in certain ways. That risk we can discuss with the athlete and the coach to make sure we all accept that risk together in an informed way. But ultimately, if we're training hard and we're trying to really drive meaningful performance adaptations, then fundamentally there should be some risk. that comes along with that. The most low risk programs out there also tend to be the ones which have the least meaningful training effect on the athlete. And that in its own way creates huge risk, but that risk is pushed into the future where you have athletes who haven't trained enough to be robust and to be able to tolerate the demands of their sport. I think in my environment, I think in all sporting environments, I think good decision making happens when I think there's a real appreciation for the context in which that decision is being made. And that context oftentimes will be about the athlete themselves. And again, a lot of those kind of inherent factors for individual athletes we need to be cognizant of, like, again, I've mentioned it before, their injury history, their training history, maybe their genetic, their fiber type profile, the type of athlete they are. And then also I think that context also comes around, let's say the context state of the season. When's the next game? What are the goals? When's the next competition event? What do we need to achieve to reach our longer term goals? And I think if you have very good understanding of those things, so again, the athlete that's in front of you, the environment and the context that you're operating in, then I think you can make more effective decisions. So you place the acute decision that's right in front of you in that bigger context of the athlete and the environment. I think where I probably have been guilty of making bad decisions, or I see people making bad decisions, is that they focus purely on the acute problem that's in front of them and maybe neglect to think about the risk factors or the properties, the characteristics of the athlete that is in front of them.